The Lakers tonight are taking on the Utah Jazz. They're 2 games above 500. This is a team that we thought might not make the play-in tournament. They might not need the play-in tournament to make the playoffs. It is wild what's happening there in the Western Conference. Joining us, as always, our favorite from the worldwide leader in sports, Brian Windhorst. How are you doing, Brian?
Hi, Rich.
I mean, when Darvin Ham said about a month ago, we're targeting the 6th seed, and the 6th seed were the Mavericks. And everyone's thinking, well, good luck to the Lakers making the 6th seed. Well, they may make the 6th seed, and the Mavericks may miss it entirely. I can't believe what's happened over the last several weeks, Brian.
Yeah, well, part of it is the West is just having a bit of a scrambled season. This is not the way it's been for most of the last 20 years. And so I would say don't confuse everything being bunched up for everything being good. One of the reasons why the Lakers have this still opportunity is because the teams that have been in front of them haven't been very good. All of the Western teams have some sort of weakness that could end up being fatal to them. But look, this is not the 7-8 years ago when you had the Warriors winning 73 games and the team right behind them having KD and Russell Westbrook in their primes. That's not the case. And so the Lakers have taken advantage of that. And what I'll say about the Lakers is this. If you want to look, I think they're 40-38.
Yep.
If you want to look at them as a 40-38 team, you can. And if you want to discredit their chances of doing anything, I don't mean you specifically.
I understand.
Some of my colleagues, kind of get annoyed with how much we talk about the Lakers. And usually I'm in that camp. But not anymore, because this is not a 40-38 team. This is a 14-7 team. That's the team's record since they made the Westbrook trade. And you might say, well, 14-7, that's no great shakes. And I'd agree with you, except for in the West this year, if you were 7 games over 500 for the whole season, you'd be right on the Phoenix Suns to be in 4th. And you go back and look, the Lakers started this season 2-10 because it was an embarrassing design of a team. And since that time, they're 10 games over 500. And again, 10 games over 500 in the West would have you like right there with the Kings in 3rd. So this is just a better team than their seed and their record shows. And that 14-7, a lot of it was without LeBron.
That's right.
And Anthony Davis was skipping some games in there, like he skipped a game in Houston that they lost a few weeks ago. And, had they won that game, for example, they would be in 5th right now. Well, so they are just a potent team in an impotent Western Conference, and I think they are worth paying attention to. And the games tonight and tomorrow, tonight they play the Jazz in Utah. Hard game, end of road trip, tough one to win. But look, they're hot. They've won 5 in a row. Tomorrow at home against the Clippers, who have beaten them 10 times in a row.
Mm-hmm.
These 2 games, in my opinion, are the 2 biggest Laker games since the bubble when they were in the finals. Certainly, if you're a Lakers fan, you may disagree. You will say, well, what about the 2021 playoffs when they played the Suns and were up 2-1 and then AD got hurt and they lost the series? I don't think they were winning that series, with all due respect. They were the 7 seed. The Suns were the 2 seed and won the West. But whatever. You want to squabble with me, whatever. These are really, really important games. And if they win these 2, Rich, they're going to have some maneuverability going into this weekend. And if they win this 2, that means they're going to be 16-7, and they're going to have won 7 in a row, and they're going to even have more confidence. So keep an eye on the Lakers over a very, very important 48 hours.
And I know the Lakers are about championships, and that's what LeBron is about, certainly in the remaining time of him being an active player in the league, Brian Windhorst. But that said, as my caveat, the conversation coming into the season and throughout the first part of the season was this roster was a mess, and that forget about turning a corner, you couldn't even see the corner as to turn the corner and try and win with LeBron now and give him a team to win now with the way the roster was constructed. Have they turned a corner on that front, do you think? Have they found a way out of a situation people were saying there's no way out, Brian?
Well, they've gotten back to the middle at least.
Right.
And in this year, the middle is interesting in the West. Like, you can remember, I don't remember if it was 2017, like the last day of the season, the Nuggets played the Timberwolves, and whoever won got in, and whoever lost, finished ninth. It was sort of the first ever play-in game. Those teams had like 48 wins, Rich. Like 47 wins, like knocked you out of you didn't get in. If you had 47 wins in the West this year, you'd be maybe have home court for the first two rounds. So, part of it is just the nature of this season. But LeBron had a pretty severe injury in his foot. Multiple doctors, by his own admission, told him, shut it down, get surgery. He hunted around for a doctor who would give him a treatment that would let him play. He openly admits that he could re-rupture that tendon and have to have surgery in the offseason. In fact, he didn't even close the door on having surgery in the offseason anyway. And I'll point out that several times since he's been a Laker, he shut down because he shut down at the end of the season because he recognized there was no place for the team to go. That wasn't the case this time. He's pushing it. He is playing. He is risking more serious injury on that foot because he smells opportunity. He smells an opportunity for them to make a run. Now, it may not happen. There's 100 reasons why it may not happen. AD is very fragile. That foot is very fragile. They could get a bad draw. I mean, somebody's going to have to play the Suns in the first round, and that's not going to be a good draw because the Suns are pretty potent with Kevin Durant. They've yet to lose with him in the lineup. They could get through this, get the fifth seed, pull a rabbit out of the hat, and then face a beast of a Suns team and lose. And then you could say, well, you did all that to get knocked out in the first round. All that could be true. But LeBron smells an opportunity because he doesn't believe the teams at the top are potent teams, and I think he's right. And at age 38, what's he worried about? If he blows out his foot, he blows out his foot. He's going to go for it. And I think, if nothing else, that leads us to be really excited for what could be a special, at least competitive, Western playoffs.
Brian Windhorst from the worldwide leader in sports, ESPN, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Why has the Kyrie-Luka marriage not only not worked, but, put the Mavs in a position to miss this playoffs entirely? Why is this not working?
This is a team-building crisis because the Mavericks were in the conference finals last year, and then they lost Jalen Brunson for nothing, which is a very hard thing to do. They have a debt that they've got to pay maybe this year, maybe not, for the Kristaps Porzingis trade. They owe the Knicks a pick. And the way it looks, it's going to come right down to it, whether the Knicks get the pick or lose the pick. It's top 10 protected, and the Mavericks could be right there at 10th or 11th, depending on what happens. But they have a debt of a draft pick that not only loses them a potentially key pick, but also locks them out of trading, of have some future maneuverability. They lost Jalen Brunson for nothing, and now they make this trade for Kyrie, a player who can walk at the end of the year, although he's incentivized to stay if they pay him through the nose. But if you pay him through the nose, are you paying through a nose in a partnership that doesn't work? And they've traded away another first-round pick and some other valuable players, and it has not worked. It is not good with Luka Doncic that you're trying to build around, okay? It's not good. We've got some red X's there. The concept of this trade, Rich, was that, yes, they were going to get worse defensively. You don't trade your best defensive player and think that you're going to improve, especially for a player like Kyrie, who is generally not a good defensive player. To swap out Dorian Finney-Smith for Kyrie, you're losing there. But the idea was that you were going to have this super potent offense, and that, Luka, who sometimes wears down at the end of games or wears down at the end of playoff series, would have this outlet to go to Kyrie. And what's happened is their offense has actually gotten slightly worse. Like, that was not on the board. On the board was like, will they have a historically great offense or just a great offense? Will they kill teams down the stretch with these two incredible ball handlers who can create for others and get their own shot? Or will they just, maim them? They haven't done it. Right out of the gate, they couldn't put it together down the stretch. They were blowing close games, and that killed their margin for error. And then Luka hurt his hip, and Kyrie hurt his foot, and their defense, of course, predictably was poor. And next thing you know, you're going from riding the ridge to falling off on your backside. And the problem is, I don't think it's necessarily a stunner that these two players wouldn't immediately come together and everything be perfect. That's understandable that it would take some time for them to kind of figure each other out. But the problem is that the deal was you knew Kyrie was going to be a free agent and had a wandering eye. He didn't say, trade me to Dallas. He ended up in Dallas as a consequence of the trade. That wasn't on his list. And so now you just don't know where it's going to end up. And if Kyrie walks on them, they're in a real bind in terms of where they are with Luka Doncic.
Well, I mean, Luka, a couple of weeks ago, after another one of the many tough losses to which we're referring, Brian Windhorst, arched many an eyebrow, and when he showed up at a post-game press conference looking miserable, talking about how he points out he used to smile a lot in the court. Now he doesn't, and even referenced it's not all on the court that's causing him to not smile while on the court. And, of course, it's very easy, low-hanging fruit to just say that's Kyrie's fault. Is it, though? I mean, what was he referring to there?
No, he's referring to something that I'm not going to discuss.
Got it.
But I don't think this is – I mean, Kyrie has done some damage to teams in the past. I don't think this is the same.
Okay.
I think this was very unprudent team building. And when the Mavericks made the deal, I could kind of see what they were doing. They were kind of hedging a little bit because they still do have a couple of assets to trade. They still have a couple of first-round picks that they're allowed to trade, and they still have a couple of young players on their roster. Josh Green, who's a good young defender, and Jaden Hardy, who is actually a pretty interesting rookie. Like, they could build up a little bit in the next couple of years with a couple of moves. But that was predicated on Kyrie and Luka working together and Kyrie staying committed. If that doesn't happen, that undercuts that. And so I don't think this can be quote unquote blamed on Kyrie. I'll listen to what happened to the Celtics at the end. I'll listen to what happened to the Nets last year in terms of Kyrie. I don't think that's quite the same. I think this was just a bit of a unsavory risk profile that's blown up in their face.
So then last quick question for you on this. I'm just trying to pick up everything that you're saying. Are the Mavs in this final week of the season now in the position of like, all right, let's just go for it, trying to make the most out of this year, maybe make a run. All we got to do is just get a seat at the table or pull the plug and make sure they protect that top 10 pick. Is that their choice right now?
Well, they're not eliminated yet.
Right.
I don't see the sense. I mean, they're not in good position.
Right.
They're on the outside and their tie-break situation isn't great. If they get eliminated, in the next couple of days, and then all of a sudden you're looking at the weekend where you are thinking about not trying to send the 11th pick. That's, when you have a top 10 pick, you got to send the worst case scenario is sending the 11th pick. You'd prefer to send the 23rd, the 29th pick, right?
Yes.
So I could see them shutting it down after they're eliminated. But if they shut it down before they're eliminated, that would be one of the most ridiculous white flag waving maneuvers ever, even if it looks bad. No, I can't see them doing that.
Okay.
But I would say any team that's eliminated from the playoffs in this situation in the modern history of the NBA would shut it down. So I don't think that's a controversial thing. It's if it's after they're eliminated.
Okay, and the few minutes I have left with you, let's just talk injuries and who's getting healthy. We just started our conversation talking about the Lakers. You look out for the Lakers if they get in a good spot, they get in and they can go on a run. If you want to talk chip in a chair, to use a poker term, the defending champs as well. They're the ones currently sitting in that sixth spot. And is Wiggins coming back? Talk to me about him and other injured players and when they might return and how healthy we're going to see teams for the playoffs, best you can tell me, Brian, right now.
Yeah, I think the expectations is that Wiggins will be back with the Warriors tonight. They play the Thunder at home. I don't think the plan is for him to play. I think it's a better chance for him to play Friday in Sacramento. I don't know where Wiggins is going to be. He hasn't been gone with an injury. He's been gone with a personal matter, but he hasn't played NBA basketball in 6 weeks. So, he would have, if the Warriors can avoid the play-in, he would have a little bit of time to ramp up next week, but he wouldn't have games. And right out of the gate, there's a decent chance that they could play the Kings, who have the number one offense in the league, where his defense is going to really be important, or potentially play the Suns. I mean, talk about a juggernaut first-round series.
Right.
I mean, you could have Suns-Warriors, depending on how things fall. I mean, it's possible that you could have 5 teams finish 41-41. I don't think that'll happen, but it's on the board. And the Warriors are in bad shape on most of their tiebreakers, which isn't a surprise. If you can't win a road game, it's hard to get a tiebreaker throughout the course of the season. So they are going to need Wiggins defensively right out of the gate. And so I just don't know what to expect from him from a form standpoint. I will say that in December, he missed 3 weeks with an adductor injury. And when he came back, he really struggled. He had 5 or 6 really poor shooting games and then got hurt again. Now, he was coming off an injury there. That's not the same as coming off a personal problem. So
right.
But I would say this, at the end of the day, if you're a Warriors fan, you can say, look, the whole team from last year's title run is back, including Gary Payton, who was gone, and then when they traded for him was injured, including Andrew Wiggins. Like, if you're looking for a reason to believe, you can say, look, we got the team back. But, boy, you're looking at potentially 4 series in a row without home court. Not potentially. They're going to be 4 series in a row without home court to repeat. You're kind of looking back at, like, I think it was the Rockets team, the Rudy Tomjanovich, never underestimate the heart of a champion, when they were, I think, a 6th seed maybe, if I remember right. And they ran through the playoffs. Just, they got hot. I mean, they definitely have that profile. But you're asking a team that was one of the worst road defensive teams in the league and worst road teams in the league to win 4 straight series without home court. I mean, it absolutely can be done, but it's going to be a challenge, and certainly something we're going to watch, and getting Wiggins back should help.
All right. Brian, I'm looking forward to the way the playoffs play out. When is the actual draft lottery? When's the Victor Wembanyama sweepstakes? When does that happen?
I believe it is May 20th.
Okay.
And did you see the Wembanyama highlight over the weekend?
I saw it on the Instagram on ESPN, shooting a 3. By the way, the dribble to get his defender off him, to shoot, understandably short, but to have the sense of following it up and jamming it in. I've never seen anything like that, ever.
Well, that's the thing. The move that he makes, the step back. Now, he missed the 3, okay?
Yeah.
But to execute an escape dribble and a step back 3 at 7'5", that was pretty impressive. And then he does a tip dunk on a 3-pointer that he attempted.
So
never seen it before.
Do you know how many executives are what do they have a good luck charm? Were they finding one? I mean this is it.
I had that video sent to me by a longtime executive with the text, "Oh my God." It was like watching, like a teenager go up against 8-year-olds on a lowered hoop. That's what it looked like. It'll be, look, this is a different type of lottery. This is, since the lottery evened out, I guess the Zion lottery was sort of like this, but it didn't feel quite the same. So this is not going to be like in the past, like at the LeBron lottery, where you had a pretty good feel that was kind of one of those top couple teams. Anybody could win this. I mean, the Lakers were, I think, 11th, and they zoomed up to 4 already in this system. And we've had some teams from the far back. Like, the lottery night is going to be, it's going to be quite the interesting experience this year. I don't think he's a can't miss prospect. I don't think he's the type of guy that if you can say, oh my God, they're going to be in the finals within 5 years, which was the case for the Cavs with LeBron. But I do think it's the most excited league executives have been about a prospect since LeBron.
Spurs, Rockets, and Pistons will have the pole position in terms of the most ping pong balls. Correct? That's who it's going to be on May 20th.
That's true.
Okay,
that's true. But we're talking about 12.5%. You know, back when the Cavs won the LeBron lottery, the number one team had a 25% chance.
There you go.
And, it's a pretty big difference. You know, half the percentage chance.
Brian, you're the best. Thanks for the time, as always. Look for more of my calls. Greatly appreciated. Right back at you. That's Brian Windhorst. Must follow, must have, right here on the Rich Eisen Show. I love talking to him. He just makes me smarter. He's opinionated. He's knowledgeable. He's the best. Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.